Welcome to the IRN-CRU podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. This is the Review Crew, and I'm your host, Keith McGinty. We are now available as a podcast to download however you access your favourite pods, and we're also live across Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm delighted to say that after an incredible week of build-up by ourselves and all of the NFL network world, the Super Bowl lived up to the expectations, the dreams that we had for it. And it was an incredible match. To talk this wonderful match over with me, I've got two of the crew's finest guys. First up, I've got Stu taking a break from his work in Canada. Stu, appreciate you spending the time with us. Thanks very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I just took my lunch a bit later today, so I'm sitting in the car with a Tim Hortons coffee. So you guys are coming live from the parking lot here, or the car park, as you call it back in Scotland, over here. But yeah, no, I'm absolutely delighted to be here. It's a lovely day. The snow is all melting before it comes back tomorrow.
Oh, you get more? Any wee Timbits to go with your coffee?
No, but I do have, not Timbits, but I have a vanilla dip donut here that maybe I'll have after this. It's my post lunch snack. Don't let Pamela know.
Man after my own heart. I'm a sucker for one of them. Absolutely delicious. I've held it off long enough, ladies and gentlemen. It's now time for the big chief himself of the crew, the triumphant Studs. Congratulations, my friend. We are absolutely delighted for you. How are you feeling?
Cheers, man. I am still absolutely buzzing for last night. I'm probably a little bit more tender than I would like to be due to the several beverages that were consumed, but still absolutely buzzing. I've come back home today, rewatched the game again, just to kind of take it all in. Really, it's just and I've been on Twitter most of the day, kind of taking in anything that I really can absorb for that, from the celebrations, like seeing Isaiah Pacheco sitting enjoying the moment on the field with his mum, listening to Mitch Holtis, who just, honestly, I could listen to that man shout a touchdown Kansas City all day. I could have it as my ringtone. But I just listening to wee bits like that, and as I say, just still absolutely buzzing after that. It was such a great game as well.
And last night we all watched the start of the game certainly together. We all met up in Glasgow in the afternoon, went to Bucks Bar for some fantastic chicken. Studs, you missed yourself there. That was absolutely delicious there. Highly recommend it. Hopefully we'll get them to sponsor us maybe in the future. We'll see. It was wonderful. And then we went to the Lvii casino. Because we had such a big crowd of us there. That was one of the only places we could get to watch it, and it was decent venue. There was the big screen on, quite a large venue, so maybe the atmosphere wasn't kind of what you were maybe hoping for, with a wee bit of a tighter place, but we made the most of it. We had a great time. The crew all getting together, because many of us were spread out all over Scotland, so it was a great chance for us to get together, get a wee catch up, and really enjoy some spectacular football. Stu, what about yourself? What was your view of the game? What was your day like?
I mean, obviously, I wasn't able to get over or back home to Scotland for this one, which was a shame.
Can't get the expenses.
The last 2 months, I've been playing the lottery every week, like just hoping maybe I'd hit it big, and then I'd be using the money to fly back to watch the game with you guys instead of going to the actual Super Bowl. But you know what I mean. Rather watch it with your mates anyway. We've discussed that. No, I ended up yesterday. It was Pamela's birthday, so we had a steak dinner, which was lovely, and I made her a pavlova. She loves pavlova, so I used her gran's recipe, made that. That went down really well, and then we watched the game after we'd finished that. So it was a fantastic one, because I mean, I said it would be the over, and we certainly got the over in terms of the points for it. So bookies were a bit out to lunch there with that. I thought they went a bit low in the original score. I know they had their reasons, but we were treated to a really good game, and obviously we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, apart from that, what else did we have? We had with some more snacks as well. I never made my cauliflower wings. After the steak, and it was more chips and dip and stuff like that we had as the snacks for later on. And Pamela particularly enjoyed the Rihanna halftime show as well.
Yes, we'll certainly get to Riri a bit later on. It was wonderful. Happy birthday to Pamela. I hope she had a wonderful time. We did ask in Bucks Bar for the cauliflower wings. They don't sell them here, unfortunately. We'll need to add them onto the menu there. Hopefully next time we go, we'll get a wee chance to taste it. Or whenever you're over, Stu, we'll just send you back.
I'll make some. I'll make some for you.
Stuz, you were a wee bit later coming to join us, but how was your evening? Because we left it maybe a wee bit earlier than you did. You stayed and watched the full game at Aliyah. How was it, bud?
Yeah. Oh no, it was good. It was cracking, to be honest. As I say, the drinks were kind of flowing. There had a couple of Giants fans in front of us, and there was quite a kind of NFL sort of group in that sort of area of the casino.
Yeah.
So as soon as anybody was passing, and again, obviously I'm sitting with my Chiefs jersey on, and they're sitting talking, asking what I thought about certain things and how I thought the game was going to go, and it was just good to kind of get a bit of kind of interaction going. And as you say, the atmosphere kind of built up as the game went on and on, to be honest, and the tighter it got towards that end, that you could just, again, the atmosphere just kind of kept going and going, and people were getting more and more buzzing to how it was going. So it was good, Dilly. It was a good venue for it.
Yeah, plenty of drinks were consumed, plenty of banter had. It was a good atmosphere. The other tables that were there as well, everybody seemed to be out for a good time, and just realise how big and an event it is, and how everybody is actually out to really enjoy it. It's different. They'll not get the proper rivalry that we get with our football here. It's that people are just out for a good time, and it was wonderful. Looking forward to the next one already. Let's get into the game then. Just prior to kick off, then we had the Sky Sports. Was it the Sky Sports commentary that we had in Aliyah? And we saw the pageantry of it all, the flying of the flags, the jets flying overhead, and one of the seminal things when it comes to American sports was the playing of the national anthem before it. The stadium looked incredible. It was right good colours from all the fans were there. It wasn't like the sports that we see here where there's keeping plenty of seats back for the ones that pay that wee bit extra money. It looked like proper fans had actually made it in, and the atmosphere that they created prior to the match was just wonderful to see. The teams coming out, getting all hyped up for it. What did you make of the national anthem and a kind of more slower, subdued version? Let me see. It was by
Chris Stapleton.
Chris Stapleton, yeah.
It was indeed. Got him here.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not always the biggest. I live in Alberta, so this is a big country province. Like we have a lot of kind of country music out in the prairies in Canada, and huge crossover with the States. And that I'm not the biggest country guy, but Chris Stapleton was fantastic. And it was also, I like the fact that for a few reasons, he was playing guitar, and I was going, you know what, smart. I would need to do that as well, because that's how I stay in tune when I'm singing. Because a lot of time the anthem's just a cappella kind of thing. So I thought it added a nice touch, like having him, playing the guitar along with it. It gave it this kind of nice, slow, kind of bluesy. It was quite. I mean, obviously, it wasn't like the Whitney Houston anthem for back in '91 or whenever that was. I mean, that if you've not seen that, go check that out on YouTube, because it's a barn burner of an anthem singing. Again, I'm not American, so I'm not really particularly into their anthem so much. But yesterday, I really enjoyed that one. Like I thought, you know what, it's understated, but performed immaculately. The guy's got some voice on him, and I like that kind of mellow, kind of bluesy country guitar he had going on. Nice Telecaster, lovely tone, and all that. So I can appreciate that as a guitarist.
I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know much about Stapleton and the type of music he plays, but I hadn't even looked to see who was doing the national anthem. But no, I thought it was quite good, and it kind of ties in with the arid, terrific, outstanding beard. It's like one of the ZZ Top guys had just went off on his own, hadn't he? His first solo album. He's always been a bluesy guy. It was really, really good. Just waiting, it kind of set the tone for it for everybody to get the wee calm before the storm of the match, and then the hype that came after it. We had a good wee rendition in the casino as well, didn't we, Studs? Just everybody was joining in. It was
Awesome.
it was good.
I
And
know,
then
it was good.
you were quickly onto your Big Chief tune as well.
I must admit, I love that is my favourite bit of the American national anthem when watching the Chiefs play. It's literally hearing the stadium go, and the home of the Chiefs. And it's all the time, honestly, and that's what I was trying to say to Scott and Danny before the game kicked off. The Miami Super Bowl a few years back, where we beat the 49ers. It was as if the game was at Arrowhead. They were that loud at the end of the national anthem. It's ridiculous.
The game then kicked off with the tossing off the coin. KC won and elected to defer to the second half. Do you think that was important for them going on to win the game, Studs?
I think it was bold, because I think I've been quite vocal in the fact of what the Eagles have been able to do. They've been able to build up big leads and then allow that defence to go hunting. So for me, I think it was a bold move by Andy Reid putting the Eagles out first, because for me, that's where they've won most of their games. They've got out to that big lead and then they've just controlled the game for there. So I think it was a bold move by Andy Reid, to be honest, but it's something that I genuinely can't think any time where we have took the ball first. We're always quite happy to. I think Andy Reid's a fan of trying to have the ball last at the end of the second quarter, get a touchdown, and then get the touchdown at the start of the third quarter to try and kind of double up essentially. So I think he is a big fan of that, which is why I think we always seem to defer those kickoffs.
Butker kicked off for 65 yards. It was a touchback. You were happy with that, Studs? Is that right? Because your bet didn't get put through.
my bet didn't get through. I was trying to get Brian had convinced me that the NFL had made the ball heavier for kickoff because they wanted the opening ball kickoff for the Hall of Fame or something. So it was going to be heavier. So it wouldn't be a touchback. The opening kickoff in the Super Bowl's never a touchback, and this, that, and the next thing. So I was trying to get on, and then as soon as it was a touchback, I was delighted my bet didn't get through.
So Brian tried to be me with the old stats and say like, oh, it's never a touchback, that opening kickoff.
Yeah. Brian was going full stew.
But Butker's leg obviously did not care that the ball was heavier. He's just like, this is getting blasted.
Somebody's not been reading their scripts that have been said to them.
Don't get
into that. What did you make of the first quarter then? I think first things I really remember was is it Gainwell? We made a couple of good runs, and Reid really sent him flying with one of the first ones there. That kind of set the tone for the match, I thought. Good opening for you guys, Stu. What did you think of the opening period?
Look, I mean, it's one of these things where, like, both teams looked good offensively throughout the game, but, like, Philadelphia, when the game started, I thought, oh, here we go, they've came to play. Like Gainwell's rushing the ball well. They're just doing what Philadelphia have done all year. That O-line was doing exactly what we talked about all week in the run-up to the game. We were saying, oh, yep, their O-line's going to be key. Can the Kansas City defence get at them? And at first, it looked like the Philly O-line was going to just run the show. And they were doing a great job, whether it was in having rushing attack through Gainwell. Interestingly, I noticed that Sanders just didn't really seem to get going, and I don't know if that's a hot hand thing or whether that's
keep him for later on. Boston Scott had a couple of drives. Boston Scott had a couple of drives in the first.
Yeah, because I never heard anything about Sanders being injured. I thought it was. I get it because Gainwell's good, and I've been a fan of him for a little while. So it's. Yep. I understand him getting a lot of the runs, especially when he's going so well. I just thought it was interesting that Sanders was kind of left sitting for most of the first part of the game there as well. But yeah, no, I thought Philly came out the gate fast, like on offense, and then obviously it went to the Chiefs after that. Like they got the ball. So Studs, I'll let you speak about that then, about the first Chiefs drive.
Before that, we'll actually get the first touchdown was for the Eagles. Yep. Gainwell up the middle for 4 yards with a touchdown. That replay showed that his arm had actually hit the ground just before the line. Is that right? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was down just before the crossing the line.
But then the next play, of course, then it went up the middle
Hurts,
from the
It was
the
a
1
Hurts
yard
in
line.
first, yeah.
Aye.
It
Hurts that was the first of these three.
Yeah, the first of these three. No more than they deserved. They'd started the game really, really well. Chiefs defense didn't really get a hold of much at that point. Studs.
No, not at all. And I just kind of coming back to the Miles Sanders part. I'd noticed in the kind of first play, and I'm like, that's a fumble right off the bat, and I hadn't realised it was Miles Sanders. So I wonder if that was maybe why, because like the very first play he's fumbled it on the Trent McDuffie tackle. So I don't know if Sirianni's maybe pulled him and sat him because he's fumbled the first drive. I mean, the ball went out of bounds, so they didn't lose it at the end up. But it was that probably the only time our defense actually did get a hold of someone on that drive. To be honest, was the first play. So other than that, we seem to let them have their way with us.
I wonder if, because there's always that kind of big thing about the first 15 or so plays being, the scripted stuff. So I did wonder if Kansas City, not so much they let them score, obviously, because they're still playing, but I wonder how much of the defensive play calling at first was kind of more of a sit off and see. Like just kind of let's see what they do in each situation here, and then obviously your game script changes as it goes on, and then you start kind of being able to kind of phase in. Okay, it looks like this is what they're trying to do in these situations, so we'll plan for that. So it's almost like I just let them sort of do what they want at first, because I kind of got that impression because the Kansas City, you weren't doing what you did against us. Because I mean, you didn't kind of even really seem to be prodding the O-line. As much as I just said the O-line was dominant, they didn't even really seem to be prodding it that hard at first. It was we'll just let them do it and see what's going to see how this is going to factor in for later.
The Chiefs then got the ball after that. There was a flag. Maybe had a wee bit of hope at that point, but I think it was offside from the defense there. And it was given as a touchdown. Of course, that was declined. Chiefs did get the ball, and someone that you had spoke up loads before the actual game, Pacheco, really from the outset was showing his worth to the team.
100%. I was big on Pacheco for this game, and I thought he was going to be key. I think even Brian and Pat we were talking about as well yesterday on the live one that we did before the game. We're talking about kind of establishing the run and stuff like that, and that's kind of that was what we had to do, really. And Pacheco was just an absolute machine. It was unreal. I think I'd kind of ideally wanted to go for 100, but it's 76 yards from him yesterday. I'm looking at, and obviously he got his score as well. It was superb. And again, that's a team that's probably one of the top 3 defensive lines in the league, if not the top defensive line in the league. And he was just showing them absolutely no fear. I think on our first drive as well, you were looking the big plays were a couple of big passes coming in there for Kelsey, who just seemed to get ridiculously wide open again, as he always seems to be.
Yeah.
So
a great catch, I remember, that was really, really quite low. He managed to keep hold of it. Incredible athleticism for that.
I think was that. I think that was later on in the game.
Was it later? It's a bit hazy. You'd be surprised.
I was going to say, I think that was a bit further on the drive, or maybe in the next drive was the big Kelsey catch. But
he did have a touchdown in the first quarter.
Yes,
by Holmes pass to him. It was from a shotgun formation. Passes deep right to Travis Kelsey for 18-yard touchdown, and I think that was what everybody that's been hoping for, is that it was going to go end to end, that both teams were just going to start slugging it out. The main players were really just going to rise to the occasion, and you could see for the opening exchanges that's how it was going to be. What did you make of that touchdown, Stu?
Oh, it was like classic Mahomes to Kelsey, kind of almost automatic. But not, that doesn't take away anything from like the skill of the play and the play calling. That was great, but it was just like another moment of Mahomes magic with Kelsey. And I can say Mahomes magic, and I've been calling for him to be MVP all year, even as a Burrow fan. And I'm definitely over the 2 week ago game. I know I keep saying that, but now I know for sure. Last night there was no sour grapes about the Bengals not being it. Well, I mean, maybe after the first few minutes there was no more sour grapes because, as you say, it just got into this whole slugfest. But yeah, Kelsey, I don't know how he does it because he's a bloody big man to seem to, be found wide open so often. But it was almost like because he came inside, didn't he, and then jinked back studs, if I remember right, like on the move. It was kind of like a cross in, then curl off, and when he did that, it drew the safety. Get pulled out, I forget who it was, get pulled out of position, and he went with the receiver. I can't remember if that was Moore or Tony that was over there, but he almost went to go cover him, and it left this huge hole in the middle for Kelsey, who was getting tracked by a linebacker at this point, who just had no chance of catching him, kind of thing, off the line, and it was just a ball over the top to him, and Kelsey grabs it and touchdown. So no, it was a fantastic move, and well, that movement and the kind of just doing that play to run in a certain way to pull the safety out of position that just opened the field up.
We were talking about it before the game. It's almost, there's obviously every team in the league's trying to scheme in how you stop Travis Kelce. Have been for years, and it's just no one can seem to get a grip of him. He always seems to find these wee pockets and get open, and then obviously you get to see that lovely dance moves in the end zone after he grabs that 18-yarder. So that was nice to see. I think I was even dancing at the back of the Aliyah when that one went in as well. I was doing my best Travis Kelce impression.
Before the end of the quarter, there was a doink. Studs, you want to talk us through that?
Aye. Harrison Butker, the guy is, listen, I love Harrison Butker. He's been normally Mr. Consistent for us when it comes to kicking. Anything from 50 yards has always been automatic over the last few years, except for this year. He's had his kicking issues this year big time. So he's, again, you're looking at it, was it a 42-yarder or something to that effect? 42-yarder. And you've seen it hooting straight away. And as soon as that doinks, the first thing that comes into your mind is that going to cost us later? Because obviously the first quarter, both teams driven up the field, touchdown for Eagles, touchdown for Chiefs. We've managed to kind of slow the Eagles down. We forced them into punt, and then we get the ball back, and we were moving it quite well. And then obviously we kind of got stuffed at the Philly kind of 24. So it was just when that doinks, you're wondering, right, is this really going to hurt us? What's going to happen with their next drive? And again, their next drive they went and scored a touchdown from it. So it did put us in the back foot, to be honest.
And that was the start of the second quarter that the Eagles got their second touchdown. So can you mind much of this one? It was
I'm blanking on the second one. Hold on, it was
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. It was the AJ Brown one. I was thinking, was it AJ Brown or was it the Gainwell kind of touch? No, it was the AJ Brown pass. That was fantastic. I think I saw something like at the time the completion odds on that, it was either 19 or 21%. There's some chance of him getting the ball in there because obviously, Hurts is putting the ball up, throwing it into double coverage. And at that point, I would say there was no, that was at the point where I basically went, there's no evidence of Hurts having any problems with his shoulder now at all because, that ball, I forget how many yards or how many air yards it travelled, but it's pretty bloody damn far. Kind of thing, and it landed exactly where it had to for AJ Brown to be the man that kind of came out with it. So it was an incredible catch and a great play. And at that point, I started to think, here we go. The Eagles are going to start pulling away now, especially after the doink, because it just looked like they were starting to get momentum because there was no slowing them down, or even when you thought you had slowed them down, they're making plays to kind of keep going, and then you have that huge play to AJ Brown. And fantastic touchdown.
Who was in the coverage for that one? Studs, was it Reed again? for the AJ Brown one. I was listening to a podcast earlier on, and it said, I know.
It wasn't.
On you go, pal.
Sorry, I was going to say, I don't think it was Reed. I'm trying to think who it was.
It's one of the young lads.
Yeah. I've got a feeling it might have been Watson. And I think I said it again, I've seen it last night. For me, he's in double coverage. As good as AJ Brown is, your two coverage players have got to do better. I actually thought it was underthrown by Hurts, to be honest. I think Brown's got to adjust and come back to it. And that, for me, that should then favour the defender even more.
It should, yeah.
Which is crazy. Do you know what I mean? So, I think the two of them probably a bit of inexperience maybe on their part, purely because obviously they're up against Brown on that one, so they know he's a big physical specimen of a guy.
Mm-hmm.
They know he's going to come back and maybe bully them a wee bit. They need to be stronger in that scenario.
I heard today that AJ Brown, being a great sportsman that he was actually really, really good at baseball as well. So that adjustment that you mentioned, where he actually had to turn and go a wee bit further to the outside to catch that ball, just showed you how well he was able to track the ball in flight. It was as if he turned around that wee bit early, threw off the coverage, and then he was able to make the adjustments.
Yeah.
And it looked as if he even had a wee bit of space before the ball actually landed at him. It was a great touchdown. Again, Hurts just settling in. A really, really good throw. You talked about the people worried about the shoulder injuries. Didn't see anything like that at all in the opening. Well, certainly half of the game anyway that we'd seen it up to that point.
Yeah, I mean, Hurts overall, like would he go 307 yards? Something I want to say, 307 yards, 27 completions, something like that on the game. And then obviously the rushing as well, because I mean, you mentioned earlier, Pacheco, he went for 76 yards. I think Hurts was the second highest rusher in the game. He went for 70 yards. And as Brian pointed out to us earlier on, today we were having a brief chat before this call, that's the highest rushing total for a quarterback in a Super Bowl as well. So he was the second highest rusher on the day, but also the highest in history for a quarterback in a Super Bowl. So, I mean, the guy had a day, so it's one of those things where he had an absolute day as well. So.
As Grant would say, that'll be until next year when Fields is there.
Well, see what they do with their O-line. Because, I mean, again, take nothing away from Hurts. Fields is playing behind something that's not quite as good as the Eagles' O-line.
But the Chiefs weren't down for long. Hurts was trying to run up the middle, but then fumbled the ball. So as I imagine you would have been going absolutely mental at this point. Is it Nick Bolton picked it up and carried it?
It was number 32. So
one of my
sorry.
I was just going to say, one of my best friends here, he's a big Chiefs fan. He's a big guy, actually. He's like 6'5". But so Ian, he has 2 signed Nick Bolton jerseys at home, and he was saying, he's like, well, they've just went up in value even more. He's like, good, that's the kid. He's now calling, he's like, that's the kids' college fund, like one for each of the kids. Kind of thing. But I was like, you're not going to sell those. He's like, you're right.
It was just that's the fairy tale stuff, that isn't it? He'll be able to dine off that for the rest of his life. That'll get him into the Hall of Fame as well. Incredible bit of luck. Should Hurts have done better in protecting the ball he was going forward, or
it was a weird fumble? I thought, because it was almost more like he just lost grip of the ball, like more than I know it was a strip sack, but it was like he just seemed to kind of lose grip of it, like more than I don't know, like Bolton was right there. It was weird that he seemed less aware than he should of that situation, considering how well he rushed for the game.
Who was it who made the block with one of the Eagles was desperately trying to get back to Bolton. One of the Chiefs just stood in front of him, get knocked flying about 45 yards in front of the guy. It was a great block to take, and certainly helped.
Was that Dunlap? No, or Studs? Who gets smoked?
It could have been. I never managed to catch who it was, but it was that. It's hysterical to see that. Just take one for the team, absolutely go flying, but you're not getting my guy. The Chiefs were
can't
out for
remember
that.
who it was.
Chiefs were brilliant for that. Just now, at this point in the game, they were just hanging in there, really, wasn't it? Tell me, was it after half time that Mahomes had his wee scramble? No, it was just before half time, wasn't
Just
it?
before.
Mahomes had
Yeah,
his wee
yeah.
scramble. That was a big talking point I wanted to bring up. He had his wee scramble, kind of went over and got up gingerly, is how I would describe it, as he was going over to the sidelines there. I was feeling the worst. I don't know how much you have
Aye.
been feeling, Studs.
Oh, that was scary when you see him. He looked in a hellacious amount of pain on the sidelines when it cut to him. When you see him limping as badly as he was right away,
Yes.
I was like, I'm obviously sitting watching. I'm like, oh shit. was my first expression. So aye, to see him kind of get up in that fashion does put the kind of fear into you, and then at that point you're thinking, right, probably going to see Chad Henney at some point. And again, no disrespect to Henney, anytime he's stepped in, he's done well. So as I say, it is what it is. But fortunately, able to get into half time. I think we gave up a field goal, I think, in the last play, so we were down 10 at that point. Getting into half time, you obviously sat and watched Rihanna and got some ice or some Russell Wilson Wolverine blood into him, and managed to kind of get himself back out there. So it was certainly scary to see him go down in that fashion. And I think even from a neutral perspective, I think a lot of people would have been holding their breath because you want to see Mahomes and Hurts out there.
Yeah, I mean, I know personally, like the reaction I had straight away was just, oh no, because Mahomes had been playing so well till that point as well. It was kind of a bit of a, oh no, here we go again. This is going to be like the Niners situation earlier with Purdy going down, and it's kind of like, here comes another injured quarterback, and it's going to, because it's such a key position in the game, kind of thing. And no disrespect to Henny, because obviously he's won playoff games. In the or at least one. I know he beat the Browns, didn't he? So, and also, I guess we should probably say happy retirement to that man.
A happy retirement to him, aye. Two rings.
2 rings, goes out on top. I mean, didn't have to do anything in the Super Bowl this year, but like still, the guy's had some career. Like he's been around for a while, and good for him. But yeah, personally, at the time when I saw Mahomes on the sideline, I thought, this is it. You're down by 7. It was going on 10 at that point, and I thought, here we go. We're not going to see Mahomes after, or we're not going to see him again in the second half. It's going to probably be game over. It's now just a case of the Chiefs' defence trying to hold off the inevitable, and maybe we'll see some magic for Henny, but the chances are probably low. But yeah,
it's to say though. Jalen Hurts did take it upon himself then to get another touchdown there, because he made that mistake. I suppose he was trying his best to make amends, and they then got the extra point plus then a field goal to take a lead of 24-14 into the half-time. I think half-time came at a good time for the Chiefs because of that injury to Mahomes, who looked quite pissed off at the side, but he didn't look defeated. There was one shot that I remember that was going up, and it was as if he was just rallying the troops. He was keeping movement going in that ankle. He was showing to the rest of his team that he's still part of this. He's still off it. They can still believe in him, and he believes in them. That's the sort of leader I just love watching. I've got to say, I've got to get in a wee bit of a soft spot, not for the Chiefs, but certainly for Mahomes after having the podcast we used this week, Studs. I found a deeper appreciation for the guy's an incredible talent, and I don't think I'd really taken the time to watch it much of him. Seen the odd wee sidearm throw and the wee bit of genius that he does, but to really appreciate what he does in the big stage and the high pressure games, this past couple of weeks, I really, really have. It's opened my eyes to him, and I'm a bit late to the party, but the guy's incredible.
Well, I mean, lucky for you, Keith, he's what age is Mahomes?
27, I think.
Aye, so I think we still have a few more years of Mahomes at his peak. I mean, if he's even hit his peak.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like we've got him. So obviously Brady's just retired, but we have him. We have my boy Joe Burrow.
Absolutely.
Who I would say both of them have shown that in high pressure situations they can be ice cold and just do what they need to. Herbert's
Derek
up there.
Carr as well.
Well, yeah, we'll see where Derek Carr goes. Herbert's there. He's not quite. Herbert's not proved himself in the high pressure situations yet, but we'll see if this year's been a learning experience for him. Hurts, obviously, as well on the other side of the ball for this game, I thought was fantastic. And again, I don't know if you saw him talking after the game, and we'll get to this, but I don't know if you saw him talking after the game, and realize I'm jumping way ahead here, but his talking to the media, I thought he was, for someone who just lost the biggest game of the year, he came across so well, and he talked a lot about this, about how this was a really educational experience, and how he's going to take this and use this like moving forward, and how he knows there was things that maybe didn't go as well as he wanted them to. And if you look at his whole career, like the whole thing of being in college, being benched in a championship game, having to transfer to another school, and then going on winning, and then just continuing and pushing into the NFL. The same thing, not being the highest drafted quarterback in his class, but then eventually becoming the starter for the Eagles. It's like the guy's got that same makeup in there, and it's good to see that with Brady and guys like the evil Big Ben gone from the league now, Aaron Rodgers maybe on the way out. It's like the next batch of quarterbacks. There's people coming that are flying the flag, and Mahomes is obviously
the next generation. Certainly,
he's already got 2 rings, and he's kind of flying the flag at the front of the queue already.
What was it? I'd seen that both him and Mahomes and Brady in the first 6 years of their career have been to 3 Super Bowls, so that's kind of standing them in good stead. Maybe he'll be able to top Brady's haul of rings that he gets.
Hopefully.
Be interesting. That'd be interesting. The thing we were all waiting though on was the halftime show with Rihanna this year. First time in 6 years, I believe she'd performed. As Grant said, she'd been busy. In that time, though, a massive wealth of fortune there, and starting a family and having a couple of babies as well.
Having some babies.
Yep.
She was looking incredible, and only a couple of months after having, I think it was her second child. What a performance she put on. And I think the thing that watching it, and I was very, very sleepy. I was struggling to stay awake for this bit, and I'm glad I managed to do. It was effortless for her. The whole thing, her repertoire of songs that she's got, all absolute bangers, and the performance and all the dancers, it was just a great spectacle to see. I came home by that point to watch the rest of the game. My son, my 8-year-old son, the oldest boy, was still up, and he was delighted that he got to stay up and watch the football with his dad. So the 3 of us had a great time. Ended up camping out down the stairs. It was brilliant. He got a couch, I got the other couch. Wonderful, great times, great fun. But the two is really, really enjoyed the halftime show. Rihanna, I thought, was wonderful. I loved everything about it, from the performances of the dancers, the costumes that they had, her just effortless performance, to the Super Mario stage bonus level that she'd been going for as well.
Super Smash Brothers kind of thing. I saw a few memes of that one line, and I laughed. It's like her fight Bowser and Kirby.
Nobody had who is it plays Peter Quill in Guardians. Nobody had him as the special guest pop him out at one point as the new Super Mario. That'd have been interesting to see. It was good. I enjoyed it. Did you make it, Studs? Was every day too busy having a wee blether at that point, or were they transfixed by the awesomeness that was Riri?
I think once halftime happened, it was kind of everybody started kind of blathering away and stuff like that. But as soon as Rihanna came on, it kind of quietened down again, because I think everybody was just keen to kind of see what it was going to be like. Because we've certainly seen some interesting halftime shows, to say the least. And then last year's one with Dr. Dre and the whole crew that had amassed for last year's was going to be a big one to live up to. But I think Rihanna stepped in. She done well. As I say, I enjoyed it. Again, No, I've not really got much. It was weird how it quietened back down again. If just to kind of see Rihanna coming back on, you thought you were thinking what the teams are coming back out, so everybody's kind of right sitting in their seat and ready to go. And then it's
half-time
like,
show, yeah.
hi, it's Rihanna.
She just demands that respect. That's what it is. Stu,
Yeah,
did you enjoy it?
100%.
Oh no, I loved it. Keith, also, I noticed you said that it's not too long after the birth of our kids. I take it you saw the announcement after it. They actually tried to do during it, and they screwed the cameraman cut away too soon. Because the special guest that she had on stage was the fact that she's pregnant. So it was a baby she did. She did a whole thing with like her bump, but the camera bumped away. So
right, no, I thought she looked pregnant. I thought I'd heard something today saying that.
After the halftime show, like she posted it on Instagram, like she's actually pregnant. So because there was I saw some people complaining online, going like, "Oh, she was too stationary." Do you know the thing? And I'm like, she's bloody pregnant. But the fact that she's up there, like on platforms that are moving everywhere, and you can see them a bit wobbly. I was happy from a health and safety standpoint, and Grant for the group will be as well, to see that they were all tethered off. The dancers and everybody was up there, so good health and safety. But no, I thought
Grant wouldn't be happy though. Grant wouldn't have been happy. She had headphones in. That doesn't happen at his work. No, tethered in, yes, but headphones in.
No headphones. She's probably also wearing the rank kind of shoes to be up on the roof as well. Actually, if you think about it, but no, in terms of the staging and the shots, our order of songs. I was saying to Pablo, because I mean, I can't say I'm actually the biggest Rihanna fan, but not through no like, no, it's just not really my kind of music. I was saying to Pablo's like, sorry, I actually recognise way more of these songs than I thought, because obviously I know Umbrella and what's it called, the Diamonds one that she ended with, that I thought was spectacular. That whole thing with all the lights and the flash bulbs and like her lifted her way up. But yeah, you're right. Like, in terms of vocals, I never know, completely effortless. Like I know maybe some of it was pre-recorded, but I don't think there was all that. I know they do that at the Super Bowl, and I'm never going to, fault someone for that. But she was great, and the fact that she did that whilst pregnant, even more impressive, kind of thing. So hats off to Rihanna.
I'm glad I threw that out there, because I didn't realise it, and I thought it at the time she looked as if she still had a bump. I thought they were just saying.
Good for you for not saying anything at the time and going,
listen, that's not my place to
carrying up a baby weight or something like that.
I would have given her a seat. It didn't matter if I was on a bus. I would have given her a seat, pregnant or not. I would just I wouldn't have said anything.
I was going to say the one thing I would have added to that show, though, just referencing last year's Super Bowl, see if they'd had 50 Cent hanging for one of the platforms upside down. that would have brought the house down.
I probably would have.
I was wanting Peter, the guy that plays Peter Parker, to. What's his name?
Tobey Maguire.
What one?
No.
Andrew Garfield or Tom Holland.
Yeah, all three.
Tom Holland. I was wanting Tom Holland to come out in his Rihanna umbrella costume that he did for the sing off that he did with his girlfriend. Did you see that one? He dressed up.
Aye, that'd be fun. That would have been fantastic. Yeah.
That was one I was
web slinging below the.
Right. I'm stalling because I'm going to have to admit defeat here. I struggled after the halftime to remember much of what happened. I've seen wee clips of it. Incredible ending to the game. But I'm needing you guys to carry me forward here. What happened then in the third quarter? So we're starting off 24-14 to the Eagles, and it's the Chiefs that get the first touchdown there. Pacheco, for 1 yard, punches it in for a touchdown. How did the play develop? How did your team get up the park, their studs, to get to such a commanded position?
It was a lot of the run game. Again, it was Pacheco was kind of driving us up there. You had little bits of McKinnon thrown in, and then obviously Mahomes had a couple of big passes as well. Kelsey was kind of in there. Sky Moore was starting to get involved.
I was going to say Watson appeared in that one.
Aye, and you had Watson as well. Watson was kind of coming into the game as well. He made a couple of big catches in this game as a whole. I think more so in the second half. So it was a kind of mixture of everything. And I think it was more we certainly started running the ball early in that drive, possibly to protect Mahomes a little bit, just to kind of give him some time to kind of get some movement back into the ankle, because obviously he's sitting about for quite a bit longer with it being the Super Bowl halftime. So, but it was good to see obviously Pacheco getting to kind of finish that drive off for us. What wasn't probably so good to see was seeing Pat Mahomes scramble, because as soon as he starts scrambling, you know that he could take a hit. So he did scramble. He scrambled, I think, for something like 14, 15 yards, I think, in this drive as well. But that was the second half was when he was starting to kind of do more of that. So obviously his ankle was fine. He knows his own limits and stuff like that. So he started to scramble and get involved in the act himself. And then Pacheco just punching it in for the 1 yard line. So it was a little bit of everything kind of mixed in. We were starting to kind of get more receivers involved. It wasn't just Kelsey, but the running game as well was kind of drove us up there.
Do you know what was interesting as well, just for a probability standpoint? See, up until the fumble for this is something I remember reading after the game last night. Right before the fumble for Hurts, the Eagles were sitting with a 71% chance of winning, and they still went in at half time. It was over 60% chance of them winning because they had that 10-point lead. But then after that, so then we're going to be leading up to it, actually, kind of where it dropped to 48% for the Eagles was the punt return. If you remember that.
Aye, Kadarius Toney.
That's coming, Kadarius Toney, the punt return, but I guess that's coming up in a little bit here. But yeah, that drive, I think that really showed, because we were talking about it a bit in the group chat as well, after the second half, when you could see Mahomes was going, I made the comment of like, oh, he's clearly had all the painkillers on the ankle at half time, but like whatever work the physio's been able to do with him, or the medical team, they clearly strapped him up a bit tighter, because I mean he didn't look as fluid as normal, and you could tell it was more he had straight line speed, but cutting wise he definitely looked like he was trying to use, he was intentionally pushing off to either side with his good leg, kind of thing, because it looked like when he was turning a bit there was a little bit of it was a little awkward, or more awkward than normal, but you know what, he's still so quick that he was able to kind of do that. So I was impressed to see that, and I thought, well, if he's making those runs, he's clearly confident enough that he knows he can push this here, and that was a big takeaway for that drive for me, was just his ankle.
I think one thing that you also mentioned there was the amount of time that the Eagles seem to have with the ball. That must have been really, really tiring the Chiefs D, but they managed to hold them up, and they forced the Eagles to go for a couple of field goals to, I think it was to take it up to 27-21 for their second field goal. That the amount of time that the Eagles actually had on the ball and what they were able to do with it, but the Chiefs actually be able to hold them up. One thing that I heard, and I can't find the exact amount of time that they had, but I think Mahomes only had roughly about 20 minutes on the... something like that, 20 minutes with the
24 minutes
possession.
Yeah,
24 minutes of possession with a damaged, a hurt ankle, and he still managed to get his team 38 points in a high-pressure game such as the Super Bowl. That's next level stuff we're watching. We're watching a guy that is going to be at the top of the game for a while. That we're watching something really, really special here, and I think we do really need to appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, other thing I would say that was interesting as well, just speaking of the scrambling and the rushing, and what Mahomes was able to do. The Kansas City O-line did very well too in this game. Like both O-lines, I thought were actually fantastic in this game. But the Eagles' defense, obviously getting into this game, they were leading the league in the regular season with sacks, and they never managed to get any. Well, that was one of the key stats for me in this game, was the zero sacks at all. But it wasn't for lack of them trying, or they were still getting pressure. But it was just Mahomes, even with the busted ankle, was able to, he was able to elude and kind of get away and make plays, or either dump the ball off quickly or get that scrambling run going. and that was as much part of it as his O-line kind of giving him the protection too. So it's I just, it wasn't so much that the Eagles' defense had a bad day, or their edge rushers and pass rushers had a bad day. They were actually doing okay. They were kind of getting to where they had to be in the time that they needed to do it. They just couldn't hit home or hit Mahomes. Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, couldn't hit Mahomes because it was really, really good at extending the play and finding those wee bits of pockets of space. But there was also times where he was just going right at it. He wasn't keeping hold of the ball very long to get those wee incremental yards up the park. I think I heard that the average amount of time there was round about 2.5 seconds it had in the pocket. To be able to do what they've done yesterday.
That's like Bengals time in the pocket. Burrow has to get the ball out in under 2.5 seconds. So.
Terrific stuff. So going into the end of the third quarter, 27-21 to the Eagles. How are you feeling towards the end of that as you're approaching the start of the fourth quarter, Studs? Were you thinking, this is tough, we could maybe tie the game here, maybe get 6 points behind? How are you feeling at that point?
To be honest, I think start to feel a bit quite good about the team as a whole, because obviously we've just held them to a field goal. Yep. On that field goal run as well, you had another Nick Bolton fumble recovery.
I thought that was a touchdown.
I'll be honest, my first instinct was that the refs got it right, reversing it. And I said it right away. As soon as Bolton scooped up, I said, right, this is coming back. So I was very much in the side that I didn't think it was. But the defence was starting to step up as well. As we said, obviously, first half were 10 points behind, so we I can't even remember now. But we hadn't
6
really
points
shown
behind at this point.
6 points behind at this point. We hadn't really shown any signs of stopping them as such until this point here. And we'd held them to a field goal. Offense had looked good when they were last on, obviously getting a touchdown through Pacheco. We're getting the ball back in our hands again. And we're still in a manageable position. We're 6 points behind as we kind of go into it. So start to kind of feel good. You're getting to that time where Mahomes is going to have to step up again. So starting to feel good about it, and we were seeing some signs of life in the defence as well. So it was it was looking good for me at that point.
Have you overextended your lunch hour too long, Stu? Is that the
that's
the Mounties coming for you?
The boss is sent out the search party.
It's a fire engine. So. Maybe my Chiefs fan, pal. He's a fireman.
Then to the fourth quarter, he's got that touchdown. Mahomes pass short to the right to Kadarius Toney for a 5-yard touchdown. Murdo must have been absolutely beeling that his hamstrings have managed to hold up for that one. How did that go down for you in the room? Plenty of Giants fans would have been beeling in front of us there.
I don't think the Giants fans, that's probably the one touchdown they didn't celebrate for the Chiefs, to be honest. But it was one of these. It was a weird kind of touchdown because it's just we'd called the play, and then as soon as Mahomes looked to his right, Toney was wide open. There was nobody within touching distance of him. So I mean, obviously you give credit to Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy because the play design has been created for that one specific factor as well. And I'm trying to remember if this was the drive where they threw in a snow globe again, because snow globe did definitely come out in the game. And I can't remember if it was this one that they'd brought. There was definitely one of our drives had snow globe in it in the third and the fourth quarter. Whether it was this one or maybe the next one, I'm not sure, but it was almost a little bit of a piss take for Andy Reid kind of throwing that in there, I thought, to be honest. But
it was a bit dodgy because it's a Super Bowl and it's obviously a high pressure situation. So I thought a bit like, I know Andy Reid, this is funny, but maybe don't.
Aye.
You're asking for it. That's tempting the football gods, and sometimes you don't want to do that.
Aye, but it was definitely just a sign of how good the offense was feeling about how they were playing at that, to kind of bring that out at, as you said, such a high pressure situation as the Super Bowl. I thought it was great to see but it just showed how confident the offense was that they were moving the ball well by this point. The Eagles really didn't have an answer for them, and they weren't able to stop us. So, the one thing that kind of struck me on this kind of drive was this is when Juju started to get involved as well. He had a big part in this particular drive. Some important catches as well in there. So it was good to kind of see Juju kind of make some plays and getting involved, because it'd been relatively quiet, I think, until that point.
Yeah, on Juju as well, I just want to say hats off to him for the pre-game outfit. Like I can appreciate a man wearing a kilt. Like he's got some amount of abuse for it online, but I thought because essentially not to get too political, but I'll be very careful here, Keith. I see your eyes widening, but not to get too political. But there's some people of a certain political cloth who, at the moment, get kind of angry about anything that's seen as, I don't know, non-masculine or that kind of thing. So I would love to see these guys that kind of were calling that a skirt online come over to Scotland and talk to any guy wearing a kilt over there, but also go up to Juju's face and say that, because he's not real as well. But to me, I was going like, he's wearing a kilt, a pair of bloody big Doc Marten boots, and essentially he's wearing like an army style shirt, obviously kind of fashionable, an army style shirt, and essentially a Black Panther style hat as well. Going, the guy looked masculine as all heck.
Absolutely don't mess.
Like, fantastic. Like,
absolutely love them. I've got two kilts. My mum made me two kilts. Absolutely love them, and it's my wee boy's first communion this year. So we were talking the other day about what he'd like to wear, and he's like, we said would he like to wear the kilt, and he's just absolutely buzzing, delighted to tell me.
I wear my kilts over here as well, so it's great. Like,
any excuse to wear the kilt, do you know what I mean? And I'd seen Juju's outfit the day, and I was actually, I'm obviously some of his style is questionable.
I mean, interested with it against us. The one pre-Bengals game was a bit weird, but the Super Bowl outfit, that was great.
I thought his kilt looked fantastic. So hats off to him for rocking up in the Scottish gear.
Back to the game.
It does look very. It looks a wee bit Black Panther, Nation of Islam, Spring Summer 2023, doesn't it? You're not messing with him. The boots really make it though. When you said kilt, I wasn't sure about where the height was. Of course, everybody, we're a Scottish podcast. No, if you got a kilt on, it's got to be down to your knees when you're kneeling down. That's the correct length. Any higher, lower, it's not rocking it. That looks, that gets the IRN-CRU seal of approval there, Juju. Looking fine, Biggie. Looking fine.
Yeah. I love that we're doing fashion and music and everything in this show today.
Then, so the Eagles had taken a field goal, but then Tony had got his touchdown.
Yep.
The Eagles just couldn't make any more breakthroughs. They had to punt the ball, and then Mahomes went for a short pass to Sky Moore for a 4-yard touchdown.
That was after the Tony punt return, though. On that one, this is where we'd started to see our defense really step up.
Yeah,
got the Eagles into a third and short. I think it was third and 3. Forced them back off the field.
Yep.
Got the punt return, and Kadarius Toney was our return man on that one, and he returned at 60-something yards, 65 yards,
65 yards,
and it genuinely looked like it was going to go all the way. And see, what I will say to you, Keith, is go and find that play and watch it, because it's an excellent punt return for Kadarius Toney.
Yeah,
but
picks up on the 30th. He's surrounded by Eagles players. Starts off on the left, cuts back to the right. But the blocks that he's getting done in front of him there, all the way up to the 20, the 10,
the block for Kemp,
and then dragged out.
Yeah. See, I was going to say though, I don't know if he was so much, because I know it was a bad punt, and he got the ball. Obviously, his return is excellent, but I don't know if he was so much surrounded as quickly as he should have been. So I wonder if the punt was maybe shanked, because I don't know if maybe the Eagles special team was expecting the ball to go to the left. or something there because they just didn't look set up right. So it gave
Right.
Tony so quick that
Aye.
he had that initial bit of space just to get going, and as soon as he was going, it was kind of game over. And the Chiefs had set up their blocking really well too from heading forward. But I wonder if it was just the punt was even worse than we all thought at the time, and maybe it shanked to the wrong side or something because the Eagles' defence just looked discombobulated. They were like, "Oh no, we need to be over here now." And like,
Sipos only punted it for 38 yards to the Kansas City 30. So, like you say, you'd be expected to go a wee bit further than that, give a chance for the team to get up to make the tackle. But it was like they'd got to him and they were just like blocking off his next move, as opposed to just going and just covering them, not cementing them there. But then I'd seen it there, and then that move to go to the right, the Chiefs just made sure they surrounded them, got so many blocks in it. It was an incredible play. From there, you guys managed to punch it in to get the touchdown to take the lead for the first time in the game.
Yeah.
And that was Sky Moore?
Sky Moore, yeah. Who'd been relatively quiet. So he was again, it's one of these ones that has been schemed up perfectly, and Sky Moore just appeared open at the back of the end zone, and Mahomes could just dink it over to him. We'd tried to kind of punch it in with Pacheco, and then we'd had the incomplete pass before that. So it was just a case of a very well drawn up play by Andy Reid near the enemy again, and getting. I mean, Sky Moore's rapid, so for him to get that wide open was superb, and obviously Rookie getting his touchdown was nice to see.
Yeah, I'd love to know with Sky Moore, as much as he was kind of quiet on the day, I'd love to know the actual amount of yards that he ran during that game, especially just the ones where when he went in because the amount of times he was the guy in motion running across the line. Other than that, just to kind of try and draw a defender somewhere, and he was never the one that the ball was going to, or not never, but he was not always the guy that the ball was going to. But I just remember at one point watching the match, going, "God's sake, I'm knackered just watching him."
Yeah, him and MVS, they really do put the shift in. That's kind of undervalued role that they do for the team to really drag the coverage about so that they can get the space for players like Kelsey and everybody else. Terrific work that they're doing. From there, the Eagles did make a strong reply there. It was Jalen Hurts with his third touchdown?
It was his third rushing, which again is a record, I think, for a quarterback in a Super Bowl, or it might even be a postseason. But three touchdowns or three rushing touchdowns, and then he had the passing ones as well. So
70 yards as well. It ended up with incredible performance, and to be in the losing team and to have helped your team score 35 points in the Super Bowl, that's got to leave a bit of a bad taste. That's going to be unfinished business for him. I can really see him bouncing back next year and really making a concerted effort to try and get back there again and right what he maybe perceived as a wrong. But when you're going up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, who can outscore you in a Super Bowl with that many points, it's pretty incredible.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you're looking at the Eagles' offense. They had 417 total yards. Jalen Hurts was responsible for 370 of that on his own, whether it be from his passing and rushing. So, I mean, Jalen Hurts literally did everything he possibly could in that game yesterday to get the victory. And again, it's obviously something that MVP always seems to go to the winning team. This is probably one of these ones where there's definitely an argument, and I think Brady against the Eagles a good few years ago when he threw for 500 odd yards and still lost. You're looking at these guys going,
what more could he do?
Surely. And again, obviously, I'm delighted that Pat Mahomes got MVP, and I do think Mahomes had an excellent game, but surely it can't just be as black and white as the MVP's got to be on the winning team. if a guy's played like Hurts or Brady, as I mentioned in that Eagles Super Bowl, surely there's got to be a serious consideration.
Stud, see, from in the hockey world, so taking it way back to the 80s, I think it was either the 86 or the 87 Stanley Cup final. Philadelphia Flyers played the Oilers, and the guy that was the goalie for them, Ron Hextall, he ended up winning the Conn Smythe, so that's basically the MVP of the playoffs kind of thing. So at the NHL, they do a best of 7 series for the Stanley Cup. So the one against the Oilers, like, it finished in 6 games, so the Oilers won 4-2. So you think, okay, cool, yeah, they've got Wayne Gretzky and kind of guys like that, like best player that's ever played the game, and they didn't. Thing is, though, is like Ron Hextall kept Philly, like, they won 2 games because of him, and then in the other 4 they weren't blown out because of him. Like, he was the goaltender for Philly, so he was the guy that they made the MVP. But I think that's the only time that's happened in hockey as well. But it's something that I think sometimes should happen more often in sports, because sometimes you just have it that, like, there might be a better team who wins, but maybe that guy, like, because for me, maybe if the fumble was the fumble the thing that maybe cost Hurts, but I'm kind of like, but even with that fumble, the guy still put up 70 rushing yards, so he must have that must have been a fumble for a loss or whatever there. Like, I don't. Oh no, I guess.
Well, that was the fumble return. That was the fumble return for the touchdown. But even after that, straight after that fumble, what I thought was really interesting for the Eagles was what was the first play they ran after it. A designed quarterback rush. They put the ball straight into his hands.
Just go.
Go for it. Do you know what I mean? And it showed incredible faith in the guy. And again, I think that really helped his confidence bounce back. Rightly so.
Okay.
So
what was the controversial ending there that James, including James Bradbury? What happened there? Talk me through it.
Right. Do you want me to go first or Studs? Who do you want to go for? Okay, I'll go first. So watching it, obviously, we're in the last couple of minutes of the Super Bowl, and you have a play called, and it's going to be a pass. And Bradbury, was it Juju he was on? Yeah, so it's Juju he's on. So Juju motion, so he starts running. Bradbury gets caught out with him moving to the side, so he reaches out, puts his hand on him, kind of tugs the shot. I mean, it's the slightest, barest little touch in the world. Ends up with a flag getting called. And this is essentially game over at this point, or maybe not game over because Butker can still miss. Because at that point, if there's no flag and it went for a completed touchdown, you would have had about 2 minutes on the clock, essentially. So the Eagles would have been getting the ball back. They would have a chance to go down the field. They still had all their timeouts at this point, or maybe one left. But anywho, so for me, I'm watching it, and I know at the time I kind of sent a message to the group going, "This is just like Logan Wilson last year when we were screwed by the refs." But this one, though, I'm going like, nah, it's different, because you watch it, you see him, he does tug, whereas Wilson, it was just a hand round about, and there was never any closing, pulling, pushing with his hand. It just happened to be put his arm around Cup without really, doing anything. So in this case, it was a weak call, but it was a flag. I think the reason a lot of people were disappointed was because of when it happened. They go, it's a Super Bowl, you have to let it go. At the same time, to me, I say, it's more that if you're a referee, you're probably going to have to call it. Because if you've seen
absolutely.
it,
absolutely. Studs, you're a resident ref. You're totally impartial here, of course.
Yeah.
Should that have been called?
See, to be honest, it's one of those ones that they could have probably left it based on the way the game had been going. There hadn't been many penalties in the game, so they could have possibly let it go. But what I actually find interesting was James Bradbury's comments, where he's quite clearly said he's like, it was a hold.
It was a holding call. I tugged his jersey. I was hoping they would let it slide. That's from Bradbury himself.
Do you know what I mean?
So he's set it to bread.
Yeah, 100%, and that's the deciding factor for me. The player who has caused the foul has literally told you, "Look,
he said,
I done it.
It was me. Yeah,
it was me. I've done it. I was hoping to get away with it." And again, it might be one of the ones you maybe get away with 6 or 7 times out of 10. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's just been unfortunate. Timing in the game. Eagles,
It's-
the pass went out the back of the end zone, so it was going to be going for a field goal. You were going to have the ball with probably about a minute and a half left.
Yeah.
After you do the kicks and stuff. So
It's still with a
Yeah.
timeout as well. So
it still had a chance. So that's I can understand where a lot of the frustration's coming from. But it is what it is. The players admitted he's done it.
yeah, what I will say as well though is, from the other side of that too, there's a bit of, I don't know if that's on the defence, like the DC, kind of just maybe giving the defence a bit of a call before it, just being like, don't grab, even if it means that you're going to lose your guy here, because like I just said a minute ago, giving up a touchdown in that situation, like a clean touchdown on that, because that was first down, wasn't it, Studs?
Yeah.
As well.
That was
So,
it was third and 8.
Sorry,
It was called at the 15.
yeah, so instead, because if you give, sorry, that's what I meant, is like, if you give up a flag there, you're giving them a first down.
Correct.
So it's that thing of like, well, you're better to give up the touchdown there or just let them air it out kind of thing. Because it's like, if he just tried to run with Juju, even if he was like a bit behind him and maybe Juju can make the catch, it's like maybe you still hold them at the 5-yard line or something. So they're not going to try and punch it in and fourth down. They're going to kick the field goal. So you go down or you give up the touchdown, and it's the same thing. It's like you're going to have a minute and a half to go up the field with the ball. So it's like you still have a chance. Like, you've been scoring earlier in the game. I know they'd slowed down a bit in the second half, but they were scoring at will early in the game. So to me, I think there was a bit of situational awareness that was lacking too in that moment, which might have cost Philadelphia. And fair play to Bradbury for coming out though and saying like, I grabbed this, I pulled it. So
that doesn't matter. We've got 7 months to fill. There's going to be conspiracy theories galore to go with that.
I mean, if we want to get into that, we could talk about there was other dodgy refereeing decisions as well. Not dodgy.
Listen,
sorry, not dodgy.
We'll get to that. You can get a full podcast on that over the holidays, bud.
The Smith catch where it was bobbling and
they had
on.
Despite the Eagles having so much of the ball and so much time, the Chiefs were able to burn it down to what I think it was 11 seconds that were left when the Eagles got the ball back after Butker's successful field goal.
Yeah, and the main play on that one was the Jared McKinnon run at the start, straight after the flag. He literally got the edge, and he could have ran straight in for the touchdown, and he sat down inbounds. So he could have got in there, and a smart play from him, to be fair, just to burn more clock.
That was another thing where I went, it was kind of a lack of situational awareness by the defence, because I'm kind of like, you need to be running, but there was nobody really even that close. There was one guy kind of chasing him, but he wasn't actually close enough to. Because this thing is like, you need to be like letting him run, but be close enough that as soon as you see him starting to drop, grab him under the armpits and just like lift him. Yeah. Stuart McKinnon's not the biggest boy or whatever, so like maybe pick him up and just carry him into the end zone.
Aye, get him out.
Butker
got his kick. 11 seconds to go. Don't really do anything with the first part. I think it was then Hurts went for a Hail Mary from the Eagles 30th. I think it makes it all the way up to the 20-yard line and the Chiefs end, but it went nowhere. There was no players near it, and the game fizzled out. I think that's for such an exciting game and such a high-scoring game. I think that it fizzled out at the end. There was no real drama at the end. Kind of people were hoping for that after what's been, as we've said often here, it's been an incredible year of the NFL. I think we were hoping for that last wee twist at the end, a wee bit of late drama, a Hail Mary into the end zone, but it was just too far a reach for the Eagles at that point. But who's caring, Studs, eh?
That's I don't care where the ball dropped at the end of the day, as long as it didn't land in an Eagles receiver's hands and he was able to get it.
It was celebrating time, pal. How did they get down? I hope you gave it a almighty roar in the Aliyah and make the security guards a wee bit anxious.
I know, I absolutely did. I let out a big massive cheer as soon as that ball hit the ground. I let out a big massive cheer, and Brian had rejoined us by that point, and he was cuddling in with us as well. as I celebrated. So no, it was, as I say, that was the highlight of it. It was brilliant just seeing that ball hit the ground, and then obviously the Giants fans were celebrating round about us as well because the Eagles had lost, so they were quite firm in their stance against the Eagles, and it was good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Can we start talking about a dynasty now? He's still too shy. Still not quite. No, do you not think that you're in a great position for next year to go and do it all again?
100%. We are in a great position, and again, and I've said that you're looking at the last 5 years, AFC Championship games the last 5 years, 3 Super Bowls. We've won 2 of them. We're in an excellent position. We've got Mahomes is on he's got his contract. You've got guys like obviously Pacheco stepping up this year. Be interesting to see what they do with the likes of Juju, for example. We've got a lot of rookies in our defense as well. So these guys are on their rookie contracts. So we've got them for kind of another 4 seasons as well, roughly. So we're certainly very, very well set up. It'll just be interesting to see what they do with the kind of, obviously, the wide receiver room is where we need to kind of probably focus on. I wouldn't be adverse to Juju coming back if the deal was right. I think he's done enough of a job for me to kind of bring him back.
I do wonder what Juju does, like just purely because he's now got his ring. So I wonder if he goes looking for a pay. I mean, and you can't fault him for that. Like because obviously the Chiefs, you do need to watch what you're doing. Like you're set up very well because you've got rookies that are very good and obviously just won the Super Bowl, so they're still on those rookie contracts. But Juju's probably going to want paid because I mean he was on a fairly friendly contract for this year. I mean, if I'm him, I would want paid too because you've only got one career, and now he's got the ring. Like, why not go to maybe a lesser team and that has a bit more cap space or available money and just get as much money as you can before you retire because you've done it already. But maybe he wants to stick around and win more. Some guys just want to win. So
is it 25 or something? Yeah, he's still really young, Juju. So
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I could see him maybe trying to go for the big contract right now, and then once that burns out, then he'll start doing, for instance, what guys like Carlos Dunlap and that have done as well. Do you think he'll be back next year?
Again, he's an interesting one because I know me and you have kind of spoke kind of back and forth about Carlos Dunlap. I think there's been times he's kind of really stepped in and made some big plays, and I've seen a lot. I suppose it was kind of similar to Ingram when we brought him in last year, and he came in at the right time and made some big plays for us. So for me, again, it really depends on what kind of deal he's looking for first and foremost. He's
not that young though, so I was gonna say he's not that young though, so I can't imagine he's gonna. He's made quite a decent whack of money in his career already. So for him, that's what I'm saying. I could see him taking less money, just to be around it again. If you know what I mean, to try and win another one. Like whereas Juju is sort of at that stage where I could see him being like, no, I want my big money now, and then because I've won one, and then maybe once my 3-4 year big contract's done, then I'll start taking friendly deals just to go to whether it's back to the Chiefs or if they're still in the hunt, or like off to the Bengals. So I imagine Juju play for the Bengals. That'd be hilarious. Or the Seahawks with Gino.
Tear it up, get us ring number 2 guaranteed.
I will say though for the Chiefs, obviously they're in a good spot. The Eagles are also in an equally good spot because I know they have a bunch of guys that are going to like free agency this year, but their wide receiver room is great. Hurts looks amazing. The defense
Howie Rosen's doing a great job.
Yeah, that team's built well, so there's no reason why they shouldn't at least be in the NFC Championship game again next year.
Absolutely.
So we'll see. I mean, Murdo say maybe the Giants should kind of push them out of that, but I don't see the Cowboys being strong enough. They've got a lot of problems with money, or like they've got those same issues where Zeke and Pollard, and how are they going to keep them going, keep that together? Their defense is really good, but I don't see the Eagles falling off that much next year. The Niners could be up there as well. Again, if they can keep a quarterback healthy.
Aye.
And that, but
Any
yeah, the Chiefs,
quarterback healthy.
yeah, Chiefs should be up there, but then I don't know. I do wonder if their path is a little harder than the Eagles to get back. Like you say, I know you've done.
We've got all summer long to talk about and
Right.
theorise who's going to do well. We'll get to that. Tonight was all about an incredible football match, an incredible end to an incredible season, and a win for the Big Chief there. How's the face? You must be aching for grinning all day. Something I've not asked you. How are the boys when you got home this morning?
Oh, I've actually got quite a funny story about that. So Aaron was sitting up watching the game, so he was messaging me whilst I was in the casino,
Right.
talking about the game and asking me if I'd seen this play and whatnot. So me and him were having a bit of back and forth. But
Yeah.
when the Chiefs had won, he's actually at what time were we? About 4:30 in the morning or something like that. At that point, he's went upstairs and woke up his wee brother. And woke up his mum to tell them that the Chiefs won.
The Chiefs won.
So he literally went up the stairs and woke up the full house to tell them that the Chiefs won. He was so excited.
That's brilliant.
So he was absolutely buzzing about it, and it was great, as I say. And I'm gutted I wasn't sitting with him watching it. I'd obviously kind of chose to come out to casino with you boys this year and stuff, but he was buzzing, so it was great to kind of see that and have that interaction with him during the game, and then hearing the fact that he woke up the house. To be fair, he's done it. He could have done it at least, went up and just said to them, "By the way, the Chiefs won," rather than me, who would have screamed the place down and woke everybody up and shouting.
Aye.
Brilliant, mate. Delighted for you. As I said, that brings into an incredible season for us, but we're not going to take the off season off ourselves. We will be back. We'll have a wee break for a couple of weeks, maybe 1 or 2 pods a week, and we're going to come back with some great ideas for you, different pods. We'll be looking at the news that is going to be happening. We've got the draft coming up. We'll be looking at our own teams, where we feel they're going, how they are developing over the summer. We'll be looking to get more of you involved as well. Our crew is ever growing, and we'll be looking to try and get a crew member for each of the teams throughout the league. So if you would love to get involved, get in touch with us. You can send us a DM, send us an email, host@gridironcrew.com, and we'd love to hear from you. One wee thing I'd like to say, and it's been an incredible year, is this is something that's affected me personally. I heard from a couple of pals that are having a tough time just now, and I think the football that we all love has been a great community, and it's a great way for people to make friends with a different likings to your pals that you've grown up with, and can maybe be a wee bit more open with people. Just encourage everybody that listens to the podcast to look after one another, to talk to one another. If you're not feeling good about things, by all means, talk to someone. There is someone out there that will be love to listen and get any help that you need. But that's just it's a wee buyout. It was somebody I'd heard from in a group chat that I got added to recently, and just praying and hoping for the best for him. Look forward to speaking to him and hopefully getting him on the pod whenever he's back feeling a wee bit healthier. So that was just a wee side thing for me. Guys, thank you very much for helping us through this. I think we're off a wee bit worse for wear after a busy
I'm all right,
weekend. You're fine.
Aye,
You've got a vanilla dip to get tore into the now.
I know. I'll be having that in a minute. I'll be feeling great. Now you get back and check the report.
Stu, thank you very much for spending your lunchtime. If I could spend my lunchtime with anyone, it certainly wouldn't be you guys for the crew. Why are you doing that, man? I appreciate
it's fantastic. It's better than sitting in the office, so say that. I mean, I like my office, love my team that I work with and everyone as well. They're all great people. But no, I just, like you say, it's that kind of thing of just chatting with other people, and it's good for your mental health, and also it's just been good for me to stay in touch with a lot of the lads back home, because obviously I'm 7 hours away, so it's like time difference wise, which is kind of that weird awkward thing of like at night time when I finish work, like say if I finish at 5 o'clock, it's already midnight, so everybody's in their bed during the week, so it's kind of hard to keep up with family, and in the long dark kind of winter months here, you can have things kind of come in run about you. So being able to concentrate on something else outside the normal kind of bits of life, it brings you a bit of joy. One thing I will say about Canada as well, just to kind of get this in quick before we go, did any of you see the Dave Grohl Crown Royal advert in the Super Bowl? So that's Crown Royal is a Canadian whiskey, or like rye whiskey, and so the Dave Grohl advert, if you've not seen it yet, they reference a lot of great things that come out of Canada, but the very last point he makes is that America has Canada to thank for gridiron football as well, and he's right. The very first game of gridiron, when they moved on for rugby and started changing the rules, it was at the University of Toronto back in 1861. So they modified rugby and started kind of coming up with the gridiron football that we know today. So maybe that's something we can talk about this summer, is history of the gridiron game.
Absolutely. Statistic of the season, that one was. There we go. Absolutely brilliant. Big Chief, congratulations. I hope you have a wonderful off-season and you get to make it up and it go all over again.
Fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed, and it'll certainly be interesting next year, as we will speak about, and we have mentioned in here. The AFC and the QBs that are in there are certainly going to make it interesting for us all next year.
Magic. Well, I hope you get pumped and the Seahawks win the lot. I've been Keith McGinty on behalf of all the crew. I hope you have a wonderful off season, but stick with us. As I said, we will be hopefully helping you through those dark months in the next 7 months between now.
Just started snowing. Don't know if you can see it.
That's magical. Magical.
There you go. Just as we're wrapping up, snow's back on.
I mind that happened at the end of an episode of Dawson Creek once. That was magical. I like that.
Hey, I'll just watch. I'll be eating a vanilla dip, not any ice cream. And if I drop that vanilla dip down in the fruit well, I'll not be bending over a la Dawson's dad. Most ridiculous screen depth in history in my book.
And on that bombshell, thank you very much, guys. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.